Happy Wednesday! Now, remember yesterday I told you that we would be reading this book, Dirty Bertie Mud, today and tomorrow and Friday. So let's get started with the first of 3 short stories. The first one is called Mud. So it's all about some children at school. We start and Mrs. Boot called the whole class together. They were going to play some football. She said, "Before we start a game, I have some good news. From this term, the Pugsley Junior team has a new coach. Me." "Hooray!" cheered know-it-all Nick. A lump of mud hit him on the ear. Bertie looked up at the sky and whistled. Like it wasn't him. "Now, we have an important match on Friday, and I am looking for new players," Miss Boot went on. "Who would like to play for the school team?" A dozen hands shot up. Bertie kept his hands by his side. He shivered. He tried pulling his shirt down over his knees to keep warm. "Excellent," said Miss Boot. "And hands up if you want to play in goal." No hands went up. Bertie felt someone pinch his arm. "Yow!" he cried. Know-it-all Nick looked up at the sky. And when Nick pinched him, he went, "Oh!" and his arm went up. "Bertie," said Miss Boot, "are you volunteering?" "Me?" said Bertie. "Yes, have you played in goal before?" No, I can't. I don't. "He's just being modest, miss," said Nick, thumping Bertie on the back. "Ask anyone, he's brilliant." Said Miss Boot. Brilliant was not a word that she connected with Bertie. Surely there had to be someone else. "But what about you, Nicholas?" she said. "Oh, I can't, miss. I've got weak ankles," said Nick. "Really?" said Miss Boot. "Eugene, how about you?" "Sorry, my mum doesn't like me playing football." "Trevor?" "Haven't got any boots, miss." Bertie looked around in desperation. Surely someone wanted to play in goal. "Well, that settles it then," sighed Miss Boot. "You're in goal on Friday, Bertie. Do not let me down." But miss," began Bertie. Miss Boot blew a shrill blast on her whistle and bustled off to start the game. Bertie stared after her. This couldn't be happening. Him playing goal for the school team, it was a disaster, a nightmare. Bertie had never played in goal in his life, not even in the playground. He didn't know how to save a ball. He couldn't even save his pocket money. That two-faced toad Nick was behind this. He knew very well Bertie was no good at football. He just wanted to see him make a fool of himself. After the practice, Bertie trudged back to school with Darren, Eugene and Donna. "Never mind," said Donna. "It wasn't that bad." "No," said Darren. "When you kept your eyes open, you did much better." Know-it-all Nick caught up with them. His shirt and shorts were spotless. "Hey, Bertie, what was the score again? Remind me," he smirked. Bertie ignored him. 6, or was it 7? I lost count. "At least Miss Boot won't want me in the team." "That's where you're wrong," grinned Nick. "There's no one else." Bertie groaned. "Why me? Can't anyone else go in goal?" "No, thanks," said Darren. "I'm a striker. Anyway, goalies always get the blame when you lose." "You think we'll lose?" said Bertie. "Are you kidding?" said Darren. "We're playing Cropper Lane." Bertie looked blank. "They're top of the league," said Darren. "They haven't lost a match, not even one." "Ha ha," gurgled Nick. "It'll be thrashing. I'm definitely coming to watch. I wouldn't miss this for anything." Bertie plodded home after school. Over supper, he broke the news to his parents. "The school team," said Dad. "That's terrific." Said Bertie, "except they want me to play in goal." "Well, that's good, isn't it?" beamed Mum. "You don't look very excited." "Of course he's excited," said Dad. "I had no idea you played in goal, Bertie." "I don't," groaned Bertie. "That's the point. I only got picked by mistake." "Don't be silly," said Mum. "You're probably better than you think." "I'm not," wailed Bertie. "I'm rubbish." "Well, I'm sure it will be fine," said Mum. "As long as you do your best, no one's going to mind." Bertie thought Miss Boot would mind. Miss Boot hated losing. She hated losing at everything, even tiddlywinks. If Bertie played badly, she'd probably use him as a football and boot him around the pitch. Dad had fetched his old trainers from the hall. "I used to play football a bit myself, actually. Just over in the park, but I was pretty good." "Really?" said Bertie. It was the first he'd heard about it. "Why don't you have a kickabout in the garden? I could give you a few tips." 5 minutes later, Bertie stood between two flower pot goalposts. He was wearing his woolly gloves and a baseball cap. Dad bounced the ball a few times and placed it on the lawn. Now, he said, you got to make yourself big. Not like that. Crouch down, arms wide. Head up, eye on the ball. Now I'm going to come at you. Try and put me off. Bertie waved his arms. Miss, 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 he yelled. What are you doing? Asked Dad. I'm trying to put you off. No, not like that. I mean, come out of the goal. I thought I was meant to be in goal, said Bertie. Dad laughed. Listen, I'll take a shot. You just try and stop it, okay? Dad took 3 steps back. He ran up and thumped the ball with all his might. Bertie watched it sail miles over his head into next door's garden. Crash! Whoops, said Dad. Maybe we'll finish this another time. The next few days passed in a daze. Bertie couldn't get the football match out of his mind. Even in his sleep, he dreamed he was playing against a team of Miss Boots. Miss Boot dribbled. She passed to Miss Boot. Miss Boot shot. Bertie dived. He woke up on his bedroom floor, cold with sweat. The day of the big match arrived. Bertie stared at the drops of rain running down the minibus window. He was doomed. Cheer up, said Darren. What's the worst that can happen? We lose, said Bertie, and I let in 20 goals. Oh, you won't, said Darren. You're not that bad. No, said Bertie. No, said Darren. You're just not very good. Thanks, said Bertie. Donna turned round from the seat in front. You never know. You might play well, she said. We might even win. Against Cropper Lane, said Darren. Hey, Bertie, called a loud voice behind them. Catch! Bertie turned round. A toffee hit him on the nose. Ha ha, jeered Noel Nick. Call yourself a goalie, you can't catch for toffee. The rain fell in buckets as the bus turned into the school drive and came to a halt. The Pudsey Junior team trooped off. They stared at the field. It sloped like the deck of a sinking ship. There were a few tufts of grass. The rest was a sea of mud. A seagull swam in one of the puddles. Bertie felt a wave of relief. Surely, if the pitch was waterlogged, the game would have to be called off. He wouldn't have to play. He was saved. Right, hurry up and get changed, barked Miss Boot, picking up her umbrella. But miss, what about the pitch? Said Bertie. What about it? It's a bog. We can't play on that. Nonsense. A few little puddles never hurt anyone. In my day, we played hockey when the snow was up to our knees. Just then, the Cropper Lane team ran out in their red shirts. They warmed up, taking it in turns to blast the ball into one of the goals. Noel Nick sidled over. Pretty big, aren't they? Look at that number 9. I wouldn't want to get in his way. He gave Bertie a sickly smile. Bertie stomped off to the dressing room to get changed. Splodge, splodge, splodge. Bertie paddled around in his goal mouth. So far, he hadn't let in any goals. Considering they'd been playing for 5 minutes, this was pretty good. He was already rather dirty, but that didn't bother him. Bertie loved mud. Adults were always shouting at him to keep out of it. But goalkeepers were actually expected to get muddy. It was part of the job. Bertie splashed through a puddle. I wonder what it's like for mudsliding, he thought. Taking a run, he skidded across his goal. Mud sprayed everywhere. Not bad. Next, he chose the biggest puddle in the goal. This time, he skidded right through it. Thump! Whoosh! Something zoomed past his head. He looked up. Why was everyone cheering? The Cropper Lane players were all crowding round the number 9. Bertie turned his head slowly. A football nestled in the back of the net. Miss Boot turned crimson red. Bertie! She thundered. What are you playing at? Sorry, I wasn't watching, said Bertie. Darren picked the ball out of the net. You're meant to try and stop it, he grumbled. I wasn't ready, complained Bertie. Somebody should tell me if they're going to shoot. Oh, excuse me. Pudsey Juniors kicked off. Bertie sighed. This is exactly why he didn't want to play in goal. You stood around for ages, freezing to death, and everyone blamed you for one tiny mistake. From the touchline, Noel Nick gave him a thumbs-up sign. Nice one, Bertie, he jeered. For the rest of the half, Bertie tried to focus on the game. It wasn't too hard, as most of the action took place around his goal. Cropper Lane were well on top. Pudsey got everyone back and defended grimly. Bertie dived, slipped and sloshed in the mud as shots rained in like hailstones. One crashed off the post, another thudded off the crossbar, a third squirted through Bertie's legs and was going in until it got stuck in a puddle. At half-time, the Pudsley players trudged off, grateful to only be 1 goal down. Their coach was not pleased. "Useless! Pathetic!" screeched Miss Boot. "I didn't come all this way to see you lose! Now go out there and get back in this game!" The second half began. The rain fell in sheets. Bertie got muddier and muddier. His shirt stuck to his back, his shorts were brown, his boots sucked and squelched every time he moved. Then the miracle happened. Pudsley scored! It was Jono who surprised everyone, ending a mazy dribble by poking the ball home. "Goal!" bellowed Miss Boot, waving her umbrella. "Goal!" bellowed Bertie, doing a handstand in the mud. Noel Nick shook his head. The Cropper Lane players looked at each other in disbelief. With 5 minutes left, the scores were level at 1-1. "Come on, Pudsley!" roared Miss Boot. "You can do it!" Cropper Lane kicked off. Pudsley cleared the ball, booting it everywhere. From a throw-in, the number 9 barged his way into the penalty area. "Come out, Bertie!" yelled Darren. Bertie tore out of his goal like an express train. He skidded in the mud and couldn't stop. "Ah!" cried the number 9 as Bertie flattened him. The referee pointed to the spot for a penalty. The Pudsley players groaned. Only a few minutes left and Bertie was going to cost them the game. He picked himself up and splodged back to his goal line. Typical, he thought. Now we're going to lose and everyone will blame me. He crouched with his hands at the ready. He'd never faced a penalty before. The number 9 pawed the ground. He began his run-up. Bertie heard someone singing loudly behind his goal. Bertie swung round to see Noel Nick's grinning face. Thud! Whack! Something thumped him on the back of the head, sending him sprawling. Half dazed, Bertie saw a ball bounce in the mud. He reached out to grab it before it could cross the line. Seconds later, he was mobbed by his teammates. What do you think happened? "Brilliant, Bertie! What a save! You weren't even looking and you saved it!" They crowded around him, slapping him on the back. Bertie grinned and spat out a piece of grass from his mouth. Soon after, the whistle blew for the end of the game. The Pudsley players threw their arms in the air. Miss Boot danced in the puddles. A draw against the might of Cropper Lane was so good a victory. Bertie was carried off the pitch by his cheering teammates. He caught sight of a scowling boy trying to slink away unseen. Bertie scooped a clod of mud off his shirt and took aim. Splat! And that's the end of that story. So tomorrow we are going to be reading Cheese. I wonder what it's all about. I hope you enjoyed this. Back tomorrow.